Hey everyone, welcome back to Ask Amy. I just took a red eye home, so forgive my ponytail and my appearance today. This might be a good video to just listen to and not watch. But I have a great question today from David, and I'm really grateful that he sent this. I think it's an excellent question, one that, as we're kind of looking in the direction of this understanding, so often comes up. So it's a great question. So let me see if I can find it here. That would be helpful, and read it. So David says, why do I have the same thoughts over and over and over again if our thoughts are always changing? I believe our worlds are made up of 100% thought, true, and intellectually, I know I do nothing and they will settle, also true. Why do I always go back to the same ones over and over? And then he has a smiley face and he says, I want new ones. I want insights. So I love this question, David. It's a great question. The thing is, the computer is very habitual. So we have the same thoughts over and over again. No, I'm not saying this is like the biggest, grandest answer to this question, but just in a really simple way, we have the same thoughts over and over again, all of us do, because we have a brain, and our brain likes to be efficient, and it catches on to something that it thinks is helpful to us, whether it is or not, completely different story. But the computer thinks, ooh, more of this, more of this. He's listening, she's paying attention, and the more we're in there listening and paying attention, and it's repeating, and maybe we're getting a little emotional about it, and all of that good stuff, it just kind of tells that computer, keep going, more of this. So it's normal, it's good. I mean, it means you have a working brain for whatever that's, I don't know that that's good, that it's a good thing, but it is showing you that you have a working brain, right? It's just what minds do. It's just what brains do. They just repeat stuff. So I love, there's something little, and I don't know that you knew about this or meant it this way, but in your question, you say, ask that question, why do I have the same thoughts over and over? I want new ones, I want insights. And then you kind of repeat it at the end and you say, why do I always go back to the same ones over and over again? Now, again, I don't know if that was intentional on your part, David, probably not, but there's something in that that's so wise and so telling. So there's the one thing, which is what I just said, that if you have a computer in your head called a brain, you're going to have lots of repetitive thoughts, just because that's how that computer works. That's what you get. But then that's what the computer puts out. But then you say, why do I always go back to the same ones over and over again? Now that's a different question. That's awesome. That the way you worded that, again, purposely or not, that's some wisdom coming in there. Why do I go back to the same ones over and over again? Totally different question. So we all have brains that say stuff on repeat. And that's a different thing than what we go back to. That's a different thing than what we respect, what we pay attention to, what we look to for information or knowledge or insight or answers. Totally different things. You're going to live in a sea of repetition forever. And there's a way that we kind of come to see that, be with it, understand it, where it, like the repetitive stuff, you really kind of start to see, oh, that's just what a computer does, right? Like, I don't need that. There's nothing in that for me. I heard Mary Schiller say this once. She spoke in Little School of Big Change almost a year ago now. And it was so commonplace. I probably thought it said it. Half the students there probably thought it said it at some point. But when she shared this in our group, mouths dropped open. It was like, she said, if I hear something more than once, I know that that's not wise. I know I don't need that. Like a computer brain says stuff on repeat all the time. Wisdom that's leading us and walking us through life and spinning planets and living us, it doesn't need to sit there and repeat itself over and over again. It won't. Two different things, right? So it's like we kind of keep seeing like how this works and what we're lived by, and don't think about this too much, David, or anyone, but we kind of just get a feel for what to pay attention to and what not. And that really repetitive computer stuff, you just kind of start to see, wow, that's not for me. That's just the byproduct of having a brain. That's not where anything ultimately helpful or wise or fresh or new, like you say, is really coming from. It feels different than an insight. And now I don't want to make insight feel like this big fancy firework thing either, because like you said, David, it's just a new thought. It's just something fresh and new. But fresh and new, you can feel the difference between fresh and new and repetitive. So for me, it's always a feel. I don't want to define it too much because that doesn't make sense and I'm wrong. I don't want to put words around it too much. See if you can just kind of get a feel for the fact that there's repeat going on. There's a computer on repeat, but that you don't need to respect that so much. You don't need to get in the content of it. You don't need to go back there, as you say. Why do I always go back there? Habit, a little bit of habit, and probably a little bit of habit of thinking it's important. It's not. If we can let that just kind of play on repeat, it starts to go into the background a little bit. It becomes background noise. We're not paying attention. We know there's nothing there for us. As soon as you know there's nothing there for you, it just loses steam really quickly, and there is nothing there for you. So it's going to happen. It's going to repeat itself. But then it's almost like you just turned a little bit this way. And when you know that stuff isn't anything you need, when you know it's not helpful, it's not the source of wisdom or fresh new thinking or solutions, now you're oriented just a tiny little degree in that direction. And that's where you can start to feel some new stuff. And I say feel on purpose because it really, I don't know, for me, maybe that's just me, but like it has a feel to it of something fresh and new. So just know, David, that there is fresh and new all the time. All the time. We just go back to and get caught up in listening to the other stuff and just seeing more about that, being patient with yourself and just being curious about the whole thing. I've seen it lots and lots and lots of times. It just kind of puts you like a couple degrees in that direction. And now you're like, okay, I know there's fresh and new coming. I don't need to work for it. I don't need to do anything about it. But I know it's in there, and I know it doesn't sound like this. It doesn't sound like this, right? It sounds like something really different, feels different. And then you start to feel it more and more. So I hope that makes some sense. Not a perfect concrete formula, but nothing I ever say is, right? So hopefully that makes sense, and you can get kind of a feel for those two different things. And just rest assured, David and everyone, that we are full of new ideas, full of brand new thought. It's happening all the time. We're just either caught up in the repetitive stuff because on some level it feels familiar and important, or we just aren't attuned. We just aren't kind of like, don't have our antenna up for that new stuff. We kind of dismiss it. It's there all the time, but maybe we think it should feel a certain way, or we think it should do something for us. And just keep going back, looking back to that well, and all kinds of new stuff will come out, and it is already, and you'll start to have the eyes to see it more and more. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, David, for sending this question. Send your questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I'll be back here Monday addressing them. Have a great week, everyone.